All right, part two. And we pick up part two with factoring what I call hard trinomial. Let's get a different color here. Bright red for hard trinomials. Hard trinomials, or what I call hard trinomials, are the ones that look like this, where the a isn't 1 here. It's something else. And it's hard because you know, it's not as easy as just finding numbers that multiply to get 3 and add to get 11, because of this 6 is in the way. And I don't know whether it's going to be 6x and 1 or 3x and 2 or 2x and 3x or 1 and they're hard trinomials. And unfortunately at this stage you've learned this at least twice, maybe 3 times, 3 different ways. And there are as many ways to do this question as there are math teachers. I'm going to show you a few very, very quickly. You pick one that you like. I can help you with, remember which ones that you like if you need to. But I'm going to show you 4 ways to do this one. This is what I call the box method. The box method. We put the first term in this box, the last term in this box, and then in here are the answers to this number puzzle. And this number puzzle actually comes up a lot. It's 2 numbers that multiply to get not 3, but 18, and I'll tell you why 18 in a second, and add to get 11. It's 18 because that's 6 and 3 together. That's A times C. The 11 is the B value. Okay? So numbers that multiply to get 18 and add to get 11. And the ABC, remember, is in the general quadratic here. So what are the numbers? Hopefully you figured it out. It's 9 and 2, right? But this isn't just 9 and 2. This is 9x and 2x to get 11x. And how we do this is then, once we got our box set up, we factor left, common factor left. Biggest number that goes into 6 and 9 is 3, and an x will go that way. What's the common factors this way? There aren't any, so it's just 1. Common factor that way, we factor up as well. So common factor there is 2x. Common factor here this way is 3. There are my factors. There's a factor and there's a factor, and it doesn't matter which order that I write them in. And 3x plus 1. The decomposition, or breaking down the middle, I think is what Miss Lichty called it, and a lot of you have had her for grade 10 probably. Breaking down the middle is essentially the same thing. We break down the middle into the answer of this. It's the same number problem. I need the same number problem here, and so I'm going to break down the middle into 9x and 2x, and it doesn't matter if these 2 middle ones are switched order, 2x and 9x, you're going to get the same thing. And then basically I factor by grouping, right? What's the common factor from the first 2? Well, it's 3x, and then inside I'm left with 2x plus 3. There is no common factor from that one, so, and then look, I can factor this by grouping. What's left is a 3x and a 1, and then that's the same factors as I got before. They might be in the opposite order, but that's fine. A third way, and I don't know, not too many teachers around use this one anymore, but it's kind of fun. It's the Aussie method. The Aussie method is this idea of, well, I don't know where it's 6 and 1 or 2 and 3 and 3 and 2 and whatever. I'm just going to put an extra 6 in there, and then at the end I'm going to divide out the extra 6. So the extra 6 goes down under. That's why it's called the Aussie method. And then again, I answer the number puzzle. The number puzzle are is what numbers multiply to get 18 and add to get 11. Again, it's 9 and 2. Same number puzzle. So I write down 9 and 2. Well, this doesn't look like the other ones, does it? Well, I've got some common factors in here. You see there's a common factor of 3 in this first bracket. Right? And in this one, there's a common factor of 2. Then I can cancel the extra factors, and there are the factors that I want left over, the Aussie method. Finally, we've got the trial and error. The trial and error method is kind of like the least amount of work, but you have to have lots of thinking. So this is the idea of, I know these two numbers have to multiply up to get A. So A is 6, 6 and 1, and 3 and 2 are the cases. And then these two numbers have to multiply to get C, which is 3, right? And there's only 3 and 1. There's not many cases. And so I think about going through the combinations. I can also think about, I'll think about the signs. Since both signs, since this answer is positive, since that answer is positive, both signs are either going to be both negatives, negative times a negative is a positive, or positives. Well, how do I know which? Well, they're both going to be the same, but they're both going to be positive because it ends up being positive 11. So I can think of both of these are positives. Since they're both the same sign, when I go through my trial and error, I'm adding. So for instance, this would be 18 and 1 is 19. That doesn't work. I'm going to go back. Well, that didn't work. What about this? Go across this way. Maybe 6 times 1 and 1 times 3. Well, that's 9. That doesn't work. And so I'm done with that one. 6 didn't work. I went through all my combinations. And here, there's 9 and 2. Well, that's going to work, right? 9 and 2 is 11. That's going to work. So I'm looking for a combination that gives me that middle term, 11. Well, what does that mean? Well, 3 has to go with 3. So this 3 has to get multiplied by the C, 3 over here. Then the 2 has to be multiplied to get 6, has to go with the 1. And there's my factors. Trial and error is maybe the least routine. Yeah, more thinking, less work, right? And so now I did it 4 times. I should be able to write that down. It was 3x plus 1 and 2x plus 3. Okay, so I don't care which way you're going to do it. I usually, and when I'm factoring stuff on my own, I usually use the box method, so that's the method that I'm going to use. I know that this is going to be 2 brackets. I'm going to try and use the box method here. I got 3g squared there, minus 4 there, and these two have to add up to 11. So I want numbers that multiply to give me minus 12, rather. Numbers that multiply to give me minus 12, because 3 times minus 4 is minus 12, and add to get 11. Well, there's lots of things that multiply to get to 12, and it's got to be a positive, though, so it's got to be, one of them's got to be a big number, 12 and negative 1, 12 and negative 1. So this is going to be 12g here, negative 1g there, and then I factor. Well, factoring up and factoring over. Factoring up, I've got a g. Factoring up, I've got a positive 4, right? Common factor up this way. Now, if I common factor this way, I've got 3g. Common factor this way. I got to take the negative out, okay? Minus 1. And so I got g plus 4 and 3g minus 1. And any of those other factoring techniques that you like should give you the same answer. The big thing about this last question, well, first of all, notice there might be a typo on your sheet. This should say squared there. Okay? Look for common factors first, because if you don't find a common factor, you're going to make your life miserable. some of them, like the box method, will not work if you leave a common factor in. Other ones might. Common factor here is 5m. Well, what's left over on the inside? I got m squared minus 2m plus 1. And now this is an easy trinomial. It's not even a hard trinomial at all. I'm looking for numbers that multiply to get 1 and add to get -2. Well, those are -1 and -1, right? Two signs that are the same sign, and add to -2. And I can abbreviate that. Right? This is going to be m minus 1 all squared. Phew. Okay, I think we got one example left. No, I don't. What's that? Oh, yeah. That was my one question done 4 ways. That's beautiful, by the way. Look at that. That's beautiful. And then this question. This is a bit of a silly question, but this is what our textbook uses as an application. It says the area of a triangular sail is given by that function. Simplify, then factor the function to find expressions for the base and height. Well, it's a triangle, so the area is base times height divided by 2, right? Well, this is the area, right? So the area, this thing, is equal to that function. And it says it wants me to factor to find an expression for the base and the height. Well, I got to get rid of this 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, and then I'm going to get the base and height is equal to 6m squared, and this is what I did there. I multiplied both sides by 2, 17m plus 5. Then it's asked me to factor, because if I could factor this, then I'd have one of the expressions will be the base and one of them will be the height. And again, I don't really care what technique you use. You know, maybe I'll use breaking down the middle this time. Numbers that multiply to get 30, and add to get 17. Multiply to get 30, add to get 17, or 15 and 2, isn't it? 15 and 2. So breaking down the middle, I got 15m and 2m. And then I factor by grouping. And this looks like a 3 will come out of the first one, 3m. 2m plus 5. And then there's nothing that goes into that, but I'll write it as a 1. And then, now, am I going to be able to grab this? Nope. Now I'm going to cheat for now. I'll put it back later, I promise. Common factor, 2m plus 5. What's left over? 3m plus 1. And there are my factors. So the base, and it doesn't matter which is which, because we don't know the shape of this sail. And then as it turns out, this is only one way to get these. You could, it could be lots of different choices, but these are the ones that work out as nice expressions. So find the dimensions. The base is 2 times 2 plus 5. That's 9 meters. And the height is 3 times 2 plus 1, 6, 7 meters. So the base is 7 meters and the height, the base is 9 and the height's 7. Or we could switch those around, right, if we wanted to. Okay. I think that's it. Is that it? That's it. Thanks for stopping by.